Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to More Sport Podcast. My name is Demola. I'm the More Sport CEO, and I'm sitting here with Will. Will has a training program called Will Over Skill Training, located in Minnesota. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got some couple of questions to ask you. We want to ask you about your training program, what you were doing as a professional player before you started this. My first question would have to be, what made you start this training program and the name, and I see you work in a barn. So describe everything that goes along with your training program.
Well, I guess I'll just start kind of how training came about. Like you said, I was a player, and it kind of just started when I was training myself. I was in the gym a lot, and it started with my cousin. Actually, was a really good high school player, and me and him kind of had a bond together. We hung out a lot, and I trained him basically while I trained myself, and we had a couple other kids kind of hop in with us. I was training them for free just because I was working by myself basically. And, they ended up being really good players. Some of them went on and played in college, were 1,000-point scorers. And, just kind of people got to know us for being the kids that were always in the gym, always working hard, doing that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I started to like training. It was definitely probably when I was in college, when I really started to really like the off season a lot. And then when I got done with playing, that's when we really tried to, get camps going, start my own business type thing. It took off from there, but it's definitely been a process. And the name, Will Over Skill, I had to kind of come up with something, and, we wanted to be creative, and I wanted to kind of match my basketball life and my basketball journey. And I felt like, when I played, I was never the most skilled person on the floor, but, I had a really strong will to be successful and play hard. And I felt like, if you don't have that will inside of you to what's driving you to be successful, you're never going to be the most skilled player out there. It doesn't matter. You could be the most skilled person on the floor, but if you don't want it enough, it's not going to take you to that next level. So I always felt like, if I could do it, and I was this kid from a small town, from a farm, that, just worked his butt off and, got to do some things with the game of basketball. Anybody can do it. It's just kind of, it's got to be that inside of you. That's what's driving you. So that's where will over skill kind of came from. And then, yeah, I don't know what was the other question you had one, but.
Yeah, so let's make this topic interesting. So I see like you train players from SMU.
Yep.
Can you tell us like the best players you've trained and like the players that like you've made a great impact on as a basketball player?
Well, yeah. So, I obviously have trained quite a few kids from St. Mary's. That's where I went to school. I graduated in 2016. So after I was done playing in college, I still stayed in contact with the school, with the coaches, showed up to alumni things, and just kind of had my face in there. And I was obviously still pursuing my basketball career, and I think guys respected that. So, coaches like me coming in and talking to them a little bit and that kind of thing. And I would come in and do some workouts with some of the guys, or I'd come out and hang out with them on the weekend if there was some of those kids that I still played with that were, becoming upperclassmen. So I just kind of hung around the college every once in a while. And then as years progressed, I started out when I trained, it was only, working with young kids and, in college. But he was a very good high school player. Throughout the years, then I slowly started getting into college players. I don't really know if I can say there's one person that's, amazing or anything. Everybody's got their own skill set. Everybody's different. I have players that play the Division I level, Division II, Division III, junior college. So there's just a wider range of players. And I have just as many guys as I do have with girls that I train. So it's kind of nice to have a variety. And then I work with a lot of youth players too. So, I literally can go from, somebody that's playing, and as a starter at a high level college, to, a fourth grade boy or girl that's just learning the game basically. So just a wide variety, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. My next question would have to be, since you played pro and you experienced like the life of being a professional player, can you like share some tips on like on how the life was, the experience, what you had to go through, and that went through the whole process, everything that has to go along with it?
Yeah, I definitely think my route was different, and I wouldn't say, my whole goal was to be playing in Europe. And, I wanted to, experience life over there and just kind of be on my own. I've always been somebody that just, likes to be alone and do his thing on his own. And so that was kind of a goal of mine. I had to go through some combine stuff. I didn't really have much help when I got out of college. My coaches didn't have maybe the connections they needed. Obviously, my parents had no idea. I didn't know many overseas players. So it was really just kind of like trying to figure out things. I went and did some camps in Chicago, did some exposure stuff, just get myself out there. I got some interest from some teams, just based off, going through a camp basically and playing a couple games and like testing out your vertical and your speed and your shooting ability and stuff like that. So, and I got some interest. It just didn't fall through how I planned. And so that was kind of, at first I was like, I don't know if I can do this type thing. And then, I was like sitting at home and I was finishing up my 5th year of school because I had to finish my internship. And I was like, I don't know if I can keep playing this and do school and finish this up. And so I just went on and got on a semi-pro team up in Minneapolis for that year when I was just at school for a little bit. And I was playing with the team up there for just a couple games, but just being surrounded by guys that, had played at the Division I level and ex-pros. I got obviously a little more insight on how the game is and like, playing against grown men and type thing. And so I got some good experience up there. And then as I came back from that, obviously they weren't paying me or anything. It was just kind of more to keep playing and keep my game fresh. I came back and they had a local, well, it wasn't local, it was in Wisconsin, a team that was running out of the ABA, which ABA can be considered pro. It just depends on the type of team. The team that I played for, they had a lot of money. They were a good franchise in a good town. We played in an arena. We had a lot of fans. We had everything that you would want in a pro team, and they treated you like a pro. I got paid. We had just a good experience. Basically, we had extra trainers. We worked out, we lifted before games. We had preseason workouts. It was definitely ran like you would think in like a college or at a pro team. So that was a good experience, definitely. It wasn't overseas, and that wasn't, obviously that was something that I wanted, but it was a good taste of that pro life a little bit for me. And then after that, then I kind of knew that I wanted to get into the training and I wanted to get into coaching. And, I still love to play. I still play all the time. I've never given up on, going out and playing, but definitely was just like a good experience, a 1-year type thing for me. And then, but it's definitely tricky. You just have to, if you want it bad enough, I know a lot of guys that continue to stick with it. My dreams maybe changed through my pursuit of it. Not because I didn't think I could get it. It just, my interest level in training and coaching and everything else just kind of changed. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Like, you really spill some like real knowledge and facts about being a professional player. My next question would have to be the location, like the way your gym is set it up. Like, who brought the idea of like the farm? Yeah, been in the farm. Like, what was the whole idea?
So I was, so I grew up on a farm. weren't like a big time farm like you would think. You know, we had cows, obviously some cattle and stuff, but it's not like we had to milk cows or, you know, if you had pulled up to my parents' house, you wouldn't think it's like a big time farm or anything, but we lived in the country. And my dad grew up on a bigger farm, and my grandpa is a full-time farmer. And so they, you know, really, you know, worked hard and had to do that. And, you know, if you're a farmer, you work 7 days a week, you don't get any days off type thing, and you do that all year round. So you definitely, you know, instilled hard work, and you have to learn how to, you know, go through good years and bad years and type things like that. So my grandpa definitely was an influence on me wanting to, you know, continue to do this basketball thing, just in general, because he was always one of my bigger supporters. Came to a lot of my games, called me after games, things like that. And, you know, he taught me how to work hard. He'd take me out on the farm. I have to do, you know, chores with him, things like that. And so basically how I got to the barn was basically I was working out on the farm. And where the barn is right now, it's where my dad grew up. And my grandpa still owns the land there. And so I was out there and I was working, and I just saw the barn, and I went into it, and I climbed up into the hay loft where they put all the hay for the cows in the winter, basically, so they can keep it. And so I went up there, and I was just like, this is a really big space. And, you know, I was just like looking at it. It was obviously really dark and full of hay, and, you know, had no windows and had holes in the floor. But I was like, you know, I can see we could definitely have some possibilities here to make this something. And I also had saw, like, on social media at one point that somebody had done something similar with a barn. And I was like, oh, dang, we could do this maybe, you know. And so, you know, I talked to my dad. Obviously, you know, he's kind of in charge of the farm, and he was okay with it, honestly, because he had saw that I put a lot of time in with my training. You know, this wasn't like right away. You know, I had trained for years of, you know, trying to find ways to get into gyms, training outside, you know, doing whatever it takes to get players on the court with me. And, you know, I kind of at that point was getting really sick of getting kicked out of gyms, having to be in the sun or dealing with the weather. And so, you know, he kind of saw that too, and he saw that I was getting more clients. And he's like, you know, if you stick with this and keep working hard, that we can make this possible. Obviously, we had to, you know, put a lot of funds in it to myself too, and I had to save for quite a few years to be able to do it. But we eventually kind of mapped it out, and then we had. So I don't know if you're familiar with like the Amish community.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
So it's just these type of people that they live near us, and they're really good with wood making, basically, and just like.
Oh yeah. It sounds familiar now.
Yeah. And so they came out, and they basically like went through our barn and made sure it was safe. And then once they did that, they said it was okay, and then they started working on it. And once they started, it only took like a couple days, and then it was pretty much laid out. And then we painted the floors, and put in bleachers, and put in a hoop, everything like that. So it's a unique setup. I think a lot of players really appreciate it. Like, it's just different. Even I know, like, the guys from Chicago that come down and they come out to this farm, and they're like, man, it's so quiet out here. Like, I've never been in a place like this before. And it's just very like isolated. You know, you come out here to get better, and you come out there to work, and that's pretty much it. Like, there's no distractions. There's nothing. You come out there to work and get better, and then you leave, and then people come back. So it's definitely a unique place. And it's rooted in my family, obviously, the farm that we grew up on and stuff. So definitely just different, you know, I would say.
Yeah. So my next question would have to be, in the future, what should we expect from Will of a Skill Trainer?
You know, I don't really know. You know, I definitely just try to take it one day at a time. You know, I think that you know, I have goals to continue to grow as a player. My goal, if I want to improve, is I need to start expanding and getting outside of the area I'm at right now, and try to meet up with more trainers, more people like yourself, and just continue to, you know, increase my knowledge and make more connections. I think that that's super important in this business. You know, I'm sure you've heard it before. It's, you know, not what you know, it's the people you know sometimes.
Yes,
too.
sir. Yes, sir.
And,
Yes, sir.
and so, you know, I really think that that's huge for me, that I need to continue to do that. So that's kind of where I'm looking at in the future here is I need to expand. I need to travel a little bit. I need to, you know, keep finding ways to get better. My goal is to eventually have another gym, maybe not necessarily like a barn type gym, but like an actual real gym. That would be later on down the line, obviously, but something that I can have, you know, full court runs, you know, have multiple hoops in there, have it like an actual gym type feel, just so I can have more options to be able to train players out of.
Yeah. So, Will, if there's any advice you'd like to give anybody out there, not just basketball players, just anybody out there is trying to chase something that you're chasing, what would it be?
You know, I think that, you know, we as people, we are always, you know, chasing something, whatever it is. Like there's goals that we have, whether they're little or big. And I think that you have to handle it one day at a time. You have to look at what you're trying to chase. You have to write it down. You have to understand that there's going to be good days and bad days, you know, whether it's with the game of basketball. I mean, I learned so many life lessons through basketball, which was really cool for me. And I think it really matured me, you know, dealing with injuries or dealing with shooting slumps. Like you learn a lot about yourself. And you learn that, you know, it's a process, and that, you know, anyone can do these things. If you want to, you know, be a pro player, if you want to be a college player, if you want to, you know, have a vertical that's, you know, higher or something like that, there's those goals are attainable. It's just going to be coming down to, again, your mindset, your preparation, how you can handle adversity. I think that, you know, everything is, you know, depending on the type of dream it is, you know, if it's big, obviously there's going to be more challenges for you thrown at you. So just being able to kind of deal with that kind of stuff. And it's like I said, it's a one day at a time type mentality. That's at least the way I go about it. I try to win the day type thing. And that's just the way I've been doing it for the last couple of years. I mean, I obviously look ahead in terms of the goals that I want, but once I have them set, then I'm just trying to chip away at it one day at a time.
Yes, sir. You heard that? It's not easy out here. You gotta grind. You gotta grind. So playing basketball, going out there, you know, training, like describe the great relationships you've had with people out there. Like, who's the one player today that you can call and be like, oh yeah, I've made a great connection with him, and to today?
You know, I honestly think that there's not just like one player that I can say that I just like have built this perfect relationship with. There's multiple kids and there's multiple players. You know, I try to stay in contact with, it's like, for example, college players. You know, I'm always texting them or messaging them or sending them clips or, you know, film breakdowns of things throughout their season, because I obviously can't be there working them out all the time. So, you know, I definitely try to stay in contact with players and just be that support person for them. You know, I know that a lot of the players that I work with have big dreams and goals, and I just want them to know that I'm a supporter of them. If they, you know, buy into what I'm trying to teach and they trust their game with me, that I got their back type thing too. So I think that with that, they know that, and you know, we've definitely built a lot of good relationships. I mean, I hang out with some of these players even outside of training too. You know, if it's, you know, we meet up somewhere and we're getting some food together and just talking basketball, or, you know, I run into them at an open gym and we're just talking and chatting like this, or maybe I even like, sometimes I'll even go golfing or do something with other players, just to kind of like do something outside of basketball is a good way to just kind of like connect with players too. So I've always done that, especially when I was playing and I had a lot of these young kids kind of looking up to me. You know, I just wanted them to, you know, see a positive person to look up to. And so, you know, not just always in basketball, you know, like, hey, this guy's only basketball all the time. You know, he can have fun and do other things, and we can, see that, and we can still work hard too. So.
Yeah, that's very relatable to me as well, because just connecting with them, not just in basketball, just outside of basketball. And my last question would have to be, what should we expect from SMU this year? I know you work with a lot of players from there. Yeah, so what should we expect? What should we expect this season? Like good things. Yeah, so let's.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited for those guys. I've obviously had the opportunity to work with Raheem and Kareem and Chris and a couple other guys that I know that are working with you guys as well.
Yeah.
I think that they have the most potential. They can be as good as they want to be. I think that conference is obviously really tough. I definitely, I played in it. I know that I would say they're one of the top Division III conferences in the nation. And I think that the fact that they, made history, what was it, 2 years ago, and being, the first time in program history to win a playoff game and to be able to advance, it was really special for me to be a part of that. And so I'm always pushing for those guys. I think Raheem is, like you said before, I think you said he's one of the top Division III players in the nation. And I totally believe that. With his work ethic, the way he works out with me, the way he wants to get better and ask questions, I think the sky's the limit for him. I think that they have some new pieces that are coming in together. I don't know all their guys yet, but I know that they have some good leadership in some of the players that have still stayed there. I think that, they could have some young guys that could come in and step in. It's really anybody's game in that conference. Anybody can beat anybody. I think this, as long as they can kind of, make sure that they, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think just like it'll come down to their ability to handle adversity type things. And, because you could come out and lose a game to a team that you feel like you shouldn't have lost to, and then you come out and beat a team that you shouldn't have, so it's one of those type of conferences. And I think that if they can stay level-headed and just attack it one game at a time, kind of like the way I always say things, is they'll be solid. I definitely think that they could, do something, even break more records. And especially, having Raheem playing the point guard, they're going to feed off of his energy and his ability to score. So I'm excited. I'm definitely going to be following.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because D3 national player of the year. I already told Raheem that's what we're chasing this season. So
when I got to see him his freshman year, there was a lot of times in games and practices I was just amazed. I was like, this kid would literally go in for a layup and he'd get fouled, and then the next possession he'd come down and he'd just go baseline and dunk it, and it would just like come out of nowhere. And just, wow, this is like crazy. And like we wouldn't even, like, even as coaches, we were like, wow, he just like did this out of we didn't even see this coming. Or he just had like this his ball handling and his ability to like get in the lane and use his body. He's got definitely a lot of qualities that you wish you had as a player. He's 6'3", 6'4", he's 220. He can post up, get to the rim. He's explosive. So he's a tough dude to guard. I even have to try to guard him in our sessions, and I can't even do it. So, but yeah, good kid. I love working with him for sure.
Yeah, I love working with him too. Will, I learned a lot from you. It was great having you on my second episode of MOLSPORT podcast. I'm just getting started with this, so we had a nice convo. I learned a lot from your training, and finally being able to meet up with you was great. I hope in the future we'll be able to do more together and grow as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and good luck in your training. Yeah, and I love what you're doing with those guys over there.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I love what you're doing too. I think that, like we said, we need to be role models for these athletes and continue to help, guide them to where they want to get to and be that support person for them. And I love what you're doing for all sports, not just basketball. I think that we need more people like you doing what you're doing. And I know
appreciate
that
it, man.
Really appreciate this. So keep doing you, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right.